Nerd Reactor, roll out.
But yes, Continental. It's John Wick World, and it's the show where you get to like kind of explore the past and get away from the modern stuff. And I just want to know, like, with this, what is it that just enticed you with the 70s
Mhm.
settings, the different characters, and you're like, yeah, I'll do this. I'm fine with this.
Well, I think that you have it in the question you had, the 70s. You had me at 70s, the music, the style, the fashion, the architecture, the TV commercials from my childhood, the songs from my mother and father. That's an easy sell.
Yeah. And with this, with the different characters, were you concerned you didn't have Keanu Reeves to be a part of this, and then trying to explore uh, just just younger version? Let's say you still have like the characters of Winston, but just exploring
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, I think anybody would like kind of raise an eyebrow and say, well, okay, well, what can I do without Keanu? I'm like, okay, well, I can explore music and make that a character. If you use pop songs or B-sides, that's very familiar to the audience. It makes them feel nostalgic. It puts them in a time and place. It can be whimsical. It can be ironic. It can be contrast to a scene. And it takes on a life of its own. And it's basically another character. So there's little tricks you can use as a filmmaker to keep the audience involved. And that was one of them that I was very excited about.
Mhm. And the coolest thing about these the films and the John Wick universe with Continental is the just the fighting, the combat. And what was your preparation for that in either watching action movies, martial arts movie, hiring the right people, or just working with the right just collaborators?
Well, it's mostly like Chad Stahelski and David Leitch have a company called 8711, and it's like a think tank of stuntman to do all these wonderful creative designs, and they help a lot of movies around town. Particularly Chad using them all on the John Wick films, and a lot of our stunt teams worked on all the John Wick films, so there was no concern there about consistency with that. But you have to uh, make it retro. Like there's no modern guns. There's the martial arts aren't what they are nowadays, so you had to bring it back to basic karate, kung fu, military kind of combat, specific guns. So again, that's the fun part, is that you get to know what the audience. It's familiar with the John Wick version of it, right? But what is that version in the 70s? Again, it's reverse engineering everything down to the 70s.
Hmm. And when working on this, so what would be like your favorite part of adding stuff from the just like the script in terms of just character dialogue and just elaborating on that, enhancing it?
I would say it's like you have all the wonderful things we all love from the movies, the kind of mythology, the mystery, the rules, and what happens when you break the rules. But John Wick has this very playful thing going on, this escapism where people know they're there to have fun, and there's no real world kind of issues in those movies. That I love that about it. And their sense of humor mostly is in the kind of physicality of their violence and what they're doing in violence. And we kind of lean more towards the sense of humor coming from the characters or dialogue, or the song may be a funny, funky song that's playing against violence. So you're being inspired by what John Wick does well, is it's winking and nodding at the audience saying, come on, we're here to have fun.
Yeah. And yeah, this movie has a lot of fun. And you've done a lot of movies where it's more drama, but this still has the drama aspect to it. And so what was that like trying to balance the action part and the drama?
I would say it was a liberating feeling for me on this, because the other films were dealing with real life social issues, inner city violence, gun violence, generational trauma, slavery. And when you kind of move all up the table, you have space in your brain to create this almost parallel universe of a subculture of assassins. And sure, the common theme there is there's violence in both, but one is not meant to be taken so seriously. The other is a reflection of real life. And again, that's what's liberating. It's like, oh God, I don't have to make sure that this shootout is so realistic that the audience buy it. I have to make this shootout entertaining and fun is my only mandate. It doesn't have to be like, what's the chance that you're going to shoot 50 guys and come out of a room alive? That's not going to happen in real life.
Yeah. And with that, what was that like? Let's say you're planning like certain shots with one guy versus all. So what was the planning stages like, trying to make sure like, okay, he shoots this person here, like with the continuity. Does it ever just mess up your mind, or you have like the whole
Mhm.
previs planned?
Hmm. Yeah, that's what they're wonderful at. That's what they kind of reinvented that. They call it stunt viz. So you're able to see what's going on before we go and actually shoot it. Then we send them off to the real location and they rehearse on the real location and they shoot another version of it. Then you start making adjustments. And, you know, as a director, you're supposed to put your kind of flavor or spin on it. So yeah, it's a John Wick violence, but like, oh, how can we bring some Jackie Chan or some Buster Keaton kind of playfulness in here, throwing objects, which they already do naturally well. I never was losing track of anything because they're so well prepared and they're like military. They're the precision, and they do things quickly. Like traditionally in Hollywood, when you do an action scene, it takes forever. These guys, they're moving.
Mhm. And with that, working with them, do you ever get to like take part in the training and all that?
No, thank God. I don't think I would have made it. But I already have some back issues from doing this series, and I've never had any back problems. But I had so
Uh,
much fun making it. I was kind of like ignoring the fact that I was probably like pushing my body too hard, and I wasn't doing any of that stuff. You know.
oh wow. So it's just, but you're just like planning stuff like behind the scenes, but you're just looking at it. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah, because some of these actors have never done that, and I was amazed at how a lot of them just grew so quickly into something they never thought they could do, and they had to do it in a record time. Where John Wick, some of those actors spend months, or Keanu will spend 6 months, Halle Berry maybe 6 months, others 3 months. Some of these characters in our show only had 3 weeks. Like Frankie doing the staircase scene in the opening, he only had 3 weeks, and he's six
Wow.
five, and he's never done a sequence like that. So because he's so tall, he has to move in a different way and make sure that we see the character he's shooting. And there's all kinds of complications that go along with that, basically, right? But to see what that guy did with 3 weeks, and I don't know if you've ever gone up a flight of steps, like multiple flights. Like if you're not normally working out, you do 2 flights and you're huffing, and you have to do that in multiple takes. Like that's insane.
Oh yeah. And just watching that scene, it's like if I didn't know anything about him as an actor, I'd be like, this guy's like a professional stuntman.
That's what I would think, and he wanted it. That's what I want to do movies
Yeah.
where I'm involved in doing my own stunts. So part of it is you have to want it,